Join me in welcoming Brian and Jeff to the stage. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam.
Good evening, everyone. We've got some seats in the front row if anyone wants to come sit down, be the gunner of the evening right here. Otherwise, thanks everyone for joining us on this lovely spring night in San Francisco to come talk about custody. Didn't think it'd be so rowdy, but that's great. Anyways, we're going to discuss sort of some of what custody is all about, and then move into discussing the staking, and then the news, which is breaking tomorrow, you're going to hear tonight. So please keep your ears sharp for that. And then it'll be Q&A. So let's just dive right into it. Brian, how are you doing?
Great. Thank you for joining me in this.
Anyways, I know the level of sophistication in the room is quite high, but this was a big learning curve for me, custody. What I learned is traditional financial institutions, they own things like gold, they own General Motors shares on behalf of their clients, and they have custodians who hold that, and you can audit what they have and stuff like that. But how does that translate to the crypto space where it's all just kind of like crypto internet dust? How do you become a custodian for that?
Yeah, so this is definitely a new asset class, and a lot of people ask us that. They're like, how do you actually store these things? They're just bits and bytes. And we've put a lot of work into building secure storage of crypto, and I think we have the best track record of doing that since back in 2012. So I'll give you a quick overview of how we actually do this and make it secure and store these things. It starts by doing key generation in a very secure manner, and you need to do that with large degrees of randomness, and you need to make sure you're doing it in a way where nobody could eavesdrop on it or end up with a copy of the key. There's a lot of really cool tech, including Faraday cages. If you remember what those are, they're basically like these lead-shielded rooms where like no external signals could possibly get in. There's these crazy attacks where like someone in a room over there with a radio antenna could be like reading the data off of your device or something like that. If any of you want to talk to Philip Martin, our head of security, he used to work in intelligence. He can tell you all the crazy stories about people who've tried to do this in obscure ways. But anyway, we start by generating these keys really securely in a secure environment, and then we break them up into pieces. For the purposes of this, let's say there's like 10 pieces. And then you need any 5 of those 10 pieces to be able to restore the secret. We then we encrypt those pieces with an HSM, and we distribute them globally around the world to these level 4 data centers, which are the highest level of security data centers that have biometrics and armed guards and video cameras and these kind of things. And so anytime keys are restored from offline cold storage, they're not connected to the internet. That's a really important security guarantee. And a quorum of these key holders comes together, and the secret is restored. So that's kind of a little bit of what happens underneath to store these crypto assets. And we've been doing that since 2012 with 5 to 10 billion of crypto assets, depending on the day. And hopefully we're bringing that to the institutional space now.
And to push you on this a bit, there's threats as with traditional places, insiders. There can be an inside job where they steal the gold or the General Motors shares, and there at least it's gone, because someone comes the next day, it's gone. You figure out it's the insiders. But with crypto, it could be 6 months later till you know it's gone. So how does your solutions ensure that quorum of people doesn't collude to steal it?
Yeah, so a few thoughts on that. One is that we are doing periodic audits. We use audit firms that come in and they do sampling, and they'll say, all right, you claim that you own all these keys, prove to me that you can move this one from A to B kind of at random. And we demonstrate that on a regular basis. And then, the other thing I should just mention, since you mentioned insider threats, we were the first crypto company out there to go get an insurance policy. And it's a cybercrime insurance policy. It actually does cover inside threats, in addition to external people trying to hack in and steal this stuff, and just things like simple mistakes, like software bugs or errors that could happen. So that's something that's been really important for our institutional clients, is to know that there is some level of insurance behind this.
That makes sense. And to move on to how you store it, actually I've got one more follow-up question on that. What if I'm a teacher's pension fund, very kind of conservative, and there is this new asset out there, but I need to be able to tell people I have a custodian, just like I have a custodian for my other assets. Are you sort of certified to do that? Like, am I allowed, if I'm the teacher's fund, to buy a little portion of crypto and put it with you guys?
Yeah, well, the main reason actually we went to go create Coinbase Custody, because of course Coinbase started as a retail platform, was we realized that more and more of these institutions were going to want to get into the crypto space, And their LPs and their auditors weren't going to be comfortable with that unless there was a regulated custodian for crypto. And that's what we went out to do. So we got a qualified custodian designation through the SEC, and we did that by becoming a New York Trust charter. And so New York Department of Financial Services, which is this kind of world-respected regulator, is the one who's managing Coinbase Custody or regulating it. And that's been a great sort of stamp of approval from them.
And as a business question, so you built it, but are they coming? Like, is anyone showing up?
Yeah, so it's been going really well. So actually, we've been adding about 150 million of assets every month in 2019, and we've got about 65 clients now, probably be over 100 in Q2.
And the other sort of skeptics might say the problem with this is you're putting it in cold storage, and when there was a zero interest rate environment, maybe that didn't matter so much. But now it's kind of parking your capital there. And I know my colleague Robert Hackett wrote this and said this is a problem, and you took exception to that and kind of took him to the woodshed. But can you sort of refute that, the notion of putting it in cold storage is, it's an inefficient use of your capital?
Yeah, so in crypto, people talk a lot about online wallets and offline wallets, or sometimes they call it hot wallets and cold wallets. It's really the same thing. It means, are you keeping the keys live on some server, or are they in cold storage disconnected from the internet, or air-gapped, they might say, in the security community? And one is not necessarily better than the other. They're just trade-offs. So a hot wallet or an online wallet makes more sense if you need real-time access to those funds, like on the order of seconds or minutes. And offline wallets or cold storage makes more sense if you want to have an additional security guarantee, and you don't necessarily need access to them within seconds, but maybe hours or something like that. And so one of the really cool things that we innovated on with Coinbase Custody was that we enabled staking, the ability to earn interest on your funds, which we can talk more about later if people are interested, while still having your funds in cold storage. So you can kind of have the best of both worlds. You can have this really great security guarantee, but you can also earn interest on those assets and participate in staking, which is a really important thing coming up in crypto. So that was what we kind of wrote the Fortune article about. It's great. Actually, you can also you can do OTC trading with funds that are in cold storage with Coinbase Custody. So I think we're trying to just provide all the things that people might want, and that's been some of the features they've been asking for.
And how nimble can you be? I mean, if it's cold storage, it's like under a mountain and takes days to get it, but you've devised something whereby you can trade the same day.
Yeah, so if you're doing OTC trades, you actually never need to move the funds live. They're stored in cold storage, so we might place a hold on those and allow you to then trade them OTC, and we'll do like a clearing and settlement process at the end of the day. So that's typically how that works.
Okay, let's go into the staking stuff, and here's the news that I'm writing about tomorrow, but you guys can hear tonight. I think it's pretty cool. You partnered with Tezos, one of the big blockchains. Their mainnet's up and running, and you're basically going to be I'll let you explain it. You can be a delegate with. You can delegate your Tezos to Coinbase. Is that right?
Right. So let me take a step back and just talk about. People are smiling. Yeah, the space is innovating so quickly. It's kind of hard to keep track of all the new things coming out. So when crypto first got started with Bitcoin back in 2008, the paper talked about this idea of proof of work or Bitcoin mining, if you're familiar with that term. And the 10-second short version of that is that you're using a lot of computational power to verify each of the transactions on the network. And that works really well. One of the downsides of it is that it does use a lot of computational power and energy, which is not great for the environment. And then it has some scalability challenges. So a lot of these next generation protocols coming out in cryptocurrency are using something called proof of stake instead of proof of work. And instead of using all this computational power, again, my 10-second lightweight version of explaining it is you're actually putting up your money about which group of transactions you think will be verified next. And if you're right, you get your money back with interest. And if you're wrong, you lose your money. And so that's what's allowing these networks to come to consensus and verify all these transactions. So that's what we are announcing coming out tomorrow, is that institutional clients who are storing their funds in Coinbase Custody can actually stake Tezos now, and we're going to be adding additional staking assets in the future, and earn interest payments even if their funds are in cold storage. And we're doing that by running our own Tezos staking node. They call it a baker. And you can actually delegate the funds in cold storage to our baker.
And if I understand Tezos right, they add a new block to the blockchain every 60 seconds, and that whoever gets to add the block, whereas in Bitcoin it's the race to solve the math problem every 10 minutes. But in Tezos, it's sort of a weighted lottery. If you weighted by how much Tezos you own, and if you win, you get basically the Tezos rewards. And then there's 32 validators as well. Sorry if I'm butchering the Tezos explanation. Does that sound okay?
It sounds about right.
But the point being is, it's advantageous to participate in the Tezos network because you can get a payout if you're, same way if you mine a new Bitcoin, you get your Bitcoins, great. But the problem is this is difficult. You have to run a node, some sort of it's technically, well, not rocket science, but probably more than a lot of people want to do. So that's why you have delegates, and it's like, I don't want to do that, you do that. That's how it works?
Yeah, I mean, it's really, every fund or investor should not be custodying their own keys. It's one of these things that is quite dangerous if you don't know what you're doing. It's almost like, in the email, like you wouldn't want to try to run your own email server. There's all these security things to consider. If something fails, like you have no backups, that's the kind of thing you should probably have, Gmail or someone like that outsource it. So that's really one of the services that we're providing, and I think we've built the best team in the world to do that.
And what I think intriguing about the proof of stake thing is, okay, so I take my assets, give them to you, and you'll act as the baker or run the node for me. And when we get income, you'll distribute them to me. So this is almost the arrival of a sort of like fixed income form of crypto. Because in the past, investing in crypto is you buy the coins, you hope they go up, they might go down. But this is a different thing. This is almost like a regular income stream, right?
That's right. Actually, so we made it really simple. I mean, if you just deposit Tezos into your Coinbase Custody account, you'll just start to earn interest payments. You'll just see them arrive on a regular basis. So there's there's not even a button to click, or you don't have to find the address of the baking node that you want to use or read any computer science papers. You literally just, if you deposit the funds there, you start to get interest payments coming in.
It's almost like dividends, right?
Yeah.
But how Tezos is doing this way. Proof of stake has been discussed a long time, including with Ethereum, who keeps talking about it, but never seems to figure it out. Tezos was designed that way from the beginning, and there's some of the other ones, I think, like Polkadot, or maybe you can kind of give us a view of the landscape of the proof of stake out there.
Yeah, well, I always have to be careful. I don't want to mention any assets specifically, but the space seems to be moving. Increasingly, we're seeing new protocols that are using proof of stake. It seems likely that within a few years, more than 50% of the market cap of coins out there will be using proof of stake. So, and if you just zoom out and let's look at where the crypto space is today, right? A lot of people look at it and they say, oh, the prices are down a little bit. The thing that we actually look at, we try not to look at the price too much. We always say internally it might be winter for price. It's actually summer for innovation. There's never been actually a better time for crypto innovation right now. There's just look at some of the funds in this room that are investing in crypto companies. There's a ton of capital flowing in. If you look at on the horizon, there's about 5 or 10 really high quality teams building these next generation protocols that'll solve some of the scalability and the volatility challenges with crypto. I would expect 3 to 5 of those chains to get launched in the next 12 months. I think people always were concerned about the volatility of crypto, and now we're seeing the stable coins come out, and so it really never has been a better time. If you look at any historical trend, right, the internet, right, after the .com crash, there was a lot of really important funds. Some of them here in the room, I saw SV Angel and others that got started in buy low and sell high, and so I think increasingly people are going to be investing in this space. LPs are going to expect that funds are using a qualified custodian, that they are getting these interest payments from staking and proof of stake. And the funds that get started now and actually begin to invest in crypto are going to have a really good time in the next 5 years.
Yeah, the other interesting innovation and I suppose news for the audience tonight is you're not just providing a delegate option to with Tezos, but also those of you familiar with Tezos, it includes a voting mechanism. So it's sort of almost mentioned there's like the Bitcoin network, but with a vote, and you could change different paradigms of it. in the case of like Tezos, I know initially you had to have 10,000 Tezos to be able to bake a roll in their jargon or to put a block on the blockchain. The first vote was to lower it to 8,000. So there's these key decisions that come up. It's almost corporate decision making, and it's almost like having a proxy vote. And I mean, this stuff goes way over my head, but this seems to be a big thing if you're into these sort of proof of stake stuff. But it sounds like Coinbase is going to be able to offer a voting mechanism.
Yeah, that's right. So a lot of our clients actually came to us and they said, staking is great. We love that you have this coming out. Another thing that we'd love to do is to be able to participate in the governance of these protocols. And that's what they feel like is going to really help them get returns in these protocols if they can start to see functioning governance and begin to participate in it. So that's exactly right. That's one of the next things that we're working on is enabling Coinbase Custody clients to actually vote on these protocols to change with the governance. If you zoom out here for a second, crypto really got started and Coinbase got started just by being a trusted place that people came to buy a little bit of crypto. But that's been really good for us. We have over 30 million people signed up, probably the best funded company in crypto, the most trusted brand. But increasingly, we don't want to just be an onboarding into this ecosystem or have people come to buy a little bit of crypto. We actually need to give them more and more things that they can do with crypto. And so, what we've been talking about internally a lot is how do we build the trusted, safe, and legal center of the crypto economy. And the crypto economy to us is actually taking all these clients that are out there, individuals, institutions, and beginning to connect them into this economic graph, which we call the crypto economy. So in the economic graph, it's like a social graph. The nodes are people or companies or entities, but instead of it being like friendships or the edges being connections of friends, it's really economic actions. It started off with buy, sell, and we added send and receive in Coinbase. Now you're seeing things like stake, vote, and I think you're going to see more and more actions like that come out as this kind of entirely parallel financial system evolves. You're going to see borrow, lend, people earning crypto, more merchant activity happening, and I think as all those things happen, this will probably be the last crypto winter that ever happens, and as the utility phase really kicks off.
Yeah, I mean, I never worked on Wall Street, but I've covered it a bit, and my impression of people say that there's all these services on Wall Street, the traditional financial sector, and it seems kind of every few months, piece by piece, crypto is almost building its own version of that. Is that a fair assessment?
I think that's right. We are seeing this native currency of the internet, really kick off its own economy, and I think it's going to be really exciting. It's going to drive a lot of innovation and get a lot of people, connected into the economy that just didn't have access to it before.
Now, forgive me, Brian, but I've got to ask some sort of tougher questions. I mean, I think this is really exciting from a conceptual level, but when I'm looking at this, the reality is, on one hand, all this cool stuff's happening, you're building the services, but I can tell by, as a journalist, you can tell how many people read your articles, and the interest in the general public in crypto is going down, which makes me depressed, but that's not your problem. But I do think it's an issue. While I see a room full of sophisticated people building it, the general public, it seems crypto is actually further away than it was a year ago. I remember during the mania, a lot of it was irrational and speculating, but people were excited. They were discovering it. Now the ordinary people seem further away from the crypto economy than they were a year ago. So what's going on? I'd argue we still are in crypto winter.
Well, I think the price may be down, but the innovation is up. That's what I would say. So these times, Coinbase has been around a long time, right? We've been through a number of these cycles. Usually in these cycles is actually when we get the most work done. I can tell you that when it's mania, like it was in late 2017, it wasn't that fun either. There was a lot of people coming into the space that didn't know exactly what they were doing. I can tell you just internally at Coinbase, it was like all hands on deck just to keep everything up and running. Now we feel like we're actually making a lot more progress and we're having a chance to build the foundation for the next time it comes up. So maybe I'm an eternal optimist. I don't know. I feel good about it. So it sounds like we can wrap it up there, and if people are around afterwards, I can stay and answer a few questions. There'll be lots of people here from Coinbase as well.
And remember, your new verb is to stake. So congratulations on that. Thanks everyone for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.